private school of their choice. So it's tax dollars funding private schools, and we're not even arguing about that as as an issue. We're arguing that if we attract a student from Falls, let's say, those numbers should all be the same, whether they're coming to a private school, a public school, whatever. If we have a student open enrolling from Falls, that should be the same as a student who's getting a voucher to go to Lutheran High. Why should that be different? They should both be 12. Right now, we would get 8,000, but a private school would get 12. So those inequities are the kinds of things that we're talking about, and there's a lot of interests and arguments to be made on both sides, but we're just trying to make sure that we keep some of those items out in front of them, and then we discuss it. And just so you know, the discussions are never arguments. They're always an open flow of ideas, and we really do appreciate them taking the time to hear our side, and they'll tell us what they feel absolutely as well, and what they're hearing from other sides and lobbyists and things. So, and that concludes my report.
So I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The private schools then that are receiving the vouchers, do they also have these mandates of science of reading and financial literacy, or are they?
No, they don't.
They don't.
They have the students that are receiving a voucher are required to do the state assessments.
Okay.
But there is nothing. That's another side of it that's not equitable either. You don't have like an open portal to see like specifics about how the students in those schools are doing that are on the vouchers. You get like a general number, but if you go into like the public portal for a public school on the WiseDash site, you can burrow down into every little nook and cranny of what our students that are attending Plymouth are doing. So there is some level of accountability, but it's much less transparent. And in fact, we had that discussion too. There was a bipartisan committee on education that recommended that our WiseDash public portal contain all of that information in a clear form, and including the tax dollars that are going to fund it and the amount and the per pupil amount as well. And it was approved to go, it went to the Finance Committee, and then the Finance Committee put a hold on it, and there was an anonymous senator who put a hold on that in the committee, in Joint Finance. After our discussion on Monday, it was lifted. There was a news story. So I'm not saying that our discussion was what had it lifted, but so there will be, we'll have to see, it's going to have to work its way through. There will be a portal that gives us better clarity on all the tax money that's going to private schools and the accountability that goes with it.
Great. All right, thanks, Dan. Item 7, Finance, Buildings, and Grounds. We are going to consider action to approve the 2023-2024 budget to be officially published for the annual meeting. Amy, help us out with this.
I will. You received 2 different documents from me. One is a budget recap. That's the one in color. And then the other is the budget publication. We're going to talk about the budget publication first. Both of these forms kind of go hand in hand. The publication has 3 years of data. The budget recap only is for this current school year, so the 23-24 data is the same on both forms. Like you said, once this is approved, this budget publication is what will be printed in the paper. A couple things to point out on the publication. On the top, under General Fund, you will see the fund balance changes over the last 3 years. We talked about that at the Committee of the Whole meeting, how we added about $183,000 to our fund balance this year. And you can see that in the unaudited 22-23 column. And for the budget for 23-24, you'll see that it's decreasing. Right now, the budget has a projection of a deficit of about 308,000. So that's the difference between those numbers right now. If you look down a little bit to expenditures, well, total revenues and other finance sources, you will see how the freeze on funding for districts affected our budget. You can see that our revenues remained pretty stagnant since '21. They're finally jumping up now in '23, '24. That's due to the state budget changes. And then you can see how our expenses continued to increase over the years, even though our revenues, still stayed pretty much the same. So in '23, '24, our revenue and our expenses are much better matched now that there's been changes at the state level. Going to the next section, special projects, that's Fund 21 and Fund 27. Fund 27, which is special education, takes up about 95% of that. The point I wanted to make about this under expenses is the special education expenses in '21, '22. Out of that $5 million were $4.5 million. This year, they are projected to be $5.1 million. So that does show how our revenues stayed stagnant, but our expenses, continue to go up. The next section is just the referendum debt. That's pretty much static throughout the years. The capital projects fund is done. That was from the referendum, so that one's been closed. We did use that for the football field and the track, so we continue to offset the expenses as we get donations in. If you turn the page, the food service fund has a pretty healthy fund balance right now. Still projected to have a fund balance at the end of this school year. They added about $50,000 at the end of last school year. Right now, their budget is about $15,000 deficit, so nothing to be concerned about. A lot of this fund balance is because of like grants and funding that they got over COVID, so there's a plan on how to spend that and, enhance the cafeterias and the food service and things like that. So Karn's continuing to work on that. Community service, last year, you can see they spent down some of their fund balance last year by about $140,000. They are using some of theirs for improvements and, supplies and things like that, playgrounds and whatnot. They have a budget this year that's projected to have a deficit of about $50,000. Not too concerning. Then on the next page, I want to just talk about the tax levy. You can see that the tax levy is increasing this year from last year. But I want to point out that this is always very fluid. If you look on 21, 22, it was higher than it is this school year. And I ran some numbers based on the projections right now that I wanted to share with you. Our mill rate this year is projected to decrease by about 34 cents per thousand, which is going to put us at like one of the lowest mill rates in the state. It's very, very low. It is, the mill rate, if it stays that, is 23% less than it was in 21, 22. And our tax levy this year compared to 21, 22 is still 2.22% lower. So even though it's going up, there are other numbers that continue to show that other areas are decreasing and that we're still lower than we were 2 years ago. So does anyone have any questions about that document?
I'll just make one point about the fact that our total tax levy is still 2% less than it was 2 years ago. Just shows you how significant that fiscal cliff would have been. The budget is created as you approved at the previous meeting with the 11,000 per pupil limit, and that still shows you that we are still below the number that was taxed for in 21-22. So that fiscal, that freeze that we were in for 3 years was very, very significant. Now, the new budget helps us get back to somewhat normal. If you were drawing a graph, we'd be, back to a decent number. But without that change and an opportunity by the legislature, it would have been significant across the state and here especially. So I wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's talk about the budget recap. You're gonna see there's no actual numbers, there's no year-to-date, even though, yes, we've been paying our bills July and August, and things have been slow, there's not a lot that comes in the first quarter of the school year, but this, I wanted you to have just a clean slate of what the budget is right now, showing the deficit of 308,000. Little tweaks have been made since I presented in July, but not many. I'm still waiting for numbers from the state to get final information, but I will not have it till October 15th, so it will happen right before our annual meeting. So even though we have a projected deficit of 308,000, it's not concerning for us. That is pretty typical for us. We've had deficits much higher. We tend to be able to manage our funds throughout the year and underspend in certain areas. Sometimes we over budget in areas, and things always seem to work themselves out. But with this budget and with the help of the state budget, I want to remind everyone some of the things that we've been able to do with the funding and the budget that we've created for this school year. Obviously, we are pretty much mostly able to avoid the fiscal cliff. Without the changes that were made, we would be having a much different conversation. But we were able this year to offer pay increases. We are able to keep our insurance plans competitive. We continue to fund our special education department. Those expenses have gone up 38% over the last 3 years, but we continue to hire special education teachers, aides, whatever staff we need to meet the needs of the students. We've invested in robust curriculum programs, a lot, what Dina and Dan just talked to you about. Those things are very expensive. We pour a lot of financial resources into our curriculum, and it does help. We see the benefits of that. We continue our capital improvements. We have facility meetings. We have an O&M list of things that we need to get done, and we're nowhere near being done, but we're able to continue to, check things off as we go along. We're able to address supply needs of our teachers. It's not very often that teachers are told that they can't get the things that they need. In fact, I don't think that I've ever said that. So we're able to, get everything that they need for their students we can fully staff our district with qualified employees. And we continue to work on our employee benefits, our employee experience, so that we can attract and retain qualified staff. We're one of the very few districts that has any ESSER funds remaining. And we plan to use those funds this year on much-needed capital improvements and employee experience, whether that be in some form of a benefit or, what could we offer our employees? It gives us a little bit of flexibility to maybe do some things that other districts did that we didn't, because we tend to be very, very conservative, so that we don't over budget. We continue to work very hard to get our students caught up from COVID. It's no secret that there's still effects from COVID. So we're able to help with those things and meet those needs too. There's still obviously a lot of work to be done, but the budget that we have and the ability to use ESSER funds for this year will really help us get to where we need to be, and have a great year. So this budget encompasses all of those things. It has everything in it that we know right now. It's based on what you approved in July, so we're looking for approval for this one so that we can move forward.
All right. So we need a motion
To approve for publishing.
what we're going to publish?
Yes.
I
Any-
move we,
Yeah, go ahead, make the motion, Nancy.
I move we approve the budget for publication as presented by Amy.
Second.
Is there any other discussion, any other questions for Amy? All right, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Thank you, Amy. Now we move on to item 8, period of public participation. Recognize those present who wish to address the board regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone?
First, we have Jerry Crawl.
Jerry.
Last week, Monday, we had a situation where a gentleman wanted to say something. The board could not answer him or reply to him. That kind of set me off in a way that this last week, I did some research on the statutes of the school board. First of all, if anybody's tried to go through the different statutes of the school board, it's horrendous. I mean, you can get wrapped up like you wouldn't believe, but anyway, the point being, I did find out that there is really nothing, at least I could find so far, that allows the board to respond to anybody, which goes against me completely. When I come here, I expect someone to converse with me, maybe a yes, no, I agree, I don't agree, sense here and there, something, so we communicate. Just waiting a month or whatever just does not sit very well at all. But there is one change that I did find. The meeting of last Monday, that type of meeting can have outside input. The only difference being, they have a sign-up sheet, but they look at the agenda, and they can only comment or ask questions or make comment on whatever is on the written agenda. Whereas this one, I can bring up anything that I wish, basically. But I still would like to find out if there's some way that the board can communicate in a timely fashion. It goes back, I've been a manager, I was in computers. I've been a manager, I've hired, fired, laid off, the whole 9 yards. I've been a project leader. I've done all of that. So when I want to do things, I want to do things. I don't expect to wait until hell freezes over, basically. So that's something that I still want to do some research on. If this board can find a way to communicate with me or anybody that brings up a point, bring it up, let's do it, because like I said, when I look back at the survey that you had, I call that ridiculous, because of that covered 3 months, maybe 4 months, and to this day, I had asked for the input on that survey. I haven't got a clue. I don't know what was who brought it up, how it was answered or anything. So it's that type of thing I want to avoid. I want answers, and I want them in a timely fashion. So, any questions?
No, thank you, Jerry. Great points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Charles Killian Jr.
Yeah, well, I'm that guy that came in last week and was a lot upset. I have right here, I have 5 students in the police force. My thing is, for 7 years, my son, John Michael Killian, who is autistic on the special needs thing, had no issues to come into summer school here in this district. My question is, that I need answers from all of you, why did the Plymouth School District have a problem with John coming to summer school this year? I also have right here a letter from DPI I'll let you have, and you can read, I don't know if you ever got it.
Thanks.
As for the flag thing, I show no disrespect because I served in the military to protect that, and it's really a right. So I'd like that answering, please.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other participation at this time? All right, thank you for your input, and we'll try to get you some answers. Moving on, we are at board liaison reports. Community Ed, Sally?
Community Ed will have free movies throughout the year for the people to come and view. The first one is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. The movie is a Judy Blume book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Also, youth basketball camp is Monday nights in October. It's for both boys and girls. And if you have a young one that wants to start babysitting, there's a babysitting clinic October 23rd and 24th. They also have a free class for seniors. You gotta register, even though it's free. Learning about Social Security 101 on September 21st and Understanding Medicare on October 2nd. And if you like to cook ahead and throw meals in the freezer, there's a workshop on October 5th. That's it.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
Foundation report, that's mine. I was not at the meeting, I was out of town. However, the fundraiser for the foundation, and you'll all recall, the foundation is to enhance the educational experience of all our students. So please look for opportunities to support the work of the foundation. But our fundraiser is at Devour on October 21st. It will be from 6 to 9 p.m. There'll be dinner, there'll be music, there'll be games, there'll be raffles, and good fun. So if you can participate, if you can bring a crowd of people, that'll be great. It all goes to our students, and that's a good cause. From there, we're Family Resource Center. Kathy.
All right. The Parents as Teachers program has a lot of offerings this fall. I'm not going to go into all the details. You can go onto their website for more information. Some of them require pre-registration. There are free developmental screenings. There are some in Plymouth, some in Sheboygan, and some in Sheboygan Falls. Sensational Babies is a 5-week class on Mondays, infant massage class. Pick up some massage tips. There's a family hike at Maywood in Sheboygan on November 9th. Bring your own baby for babies birth to 2 at Above and Beyond in Sheboygan. Biddy Book Club for 2 to 5-year-olds at the Mead Public Library. And Tiny Tots Playgroup, birth to 3 at the Plymouth Public Library. The Literacy Council program, which works matching tutors with non-English speakers, has a new tutor training on October 23rd and 26th at the Mead Public Library. They also have a workplace literacy program to provide an accessible way to integrate English language instruction into businesses for employees. And finally, the corporate spelling bee has been postponed to the spring, and instead of an afternoon event, it will be an evening event. So more information on that to follow.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
Personnel, the board will consider the approval of the retirement request from Kathy Murray, Director of Community Education, effective December 20th, 23. free.
So if
You
we
can
reject
explain
it, she
that?
has
Yeah.
to stay, is that right?
Is she here? No.
No, she's not here tonight.
It might be virtual.
Yeah, all right. Sorry, Kathy. Background, Dan, anything more on this?
Yeah, just the only thing, Kathy has been with the district in the role for 17 years, and so everybody knows her.
True.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we need a motion to approve her retirement?
I'll make a motion that we approve allowing Kathy to retire.
Second.
All in favor, say yes? Yes. Okay, but we're not happy, Kathy. All right. And support staff update. Dan?
Yes, we have a number of them as usual. So first of all, we have Anita Garcia, a special education aide at Riverview Middle School, has resigned. Anita has been with the district for 8 years. Sarah Christie has been hired as a server cook at Horizon Elementary School. Brittany Jensen has been hired as a server cook at Plymouth High School. Christy Barnes has been hired as a special education aide at Plymouth High School. Alyssa Bertram has been hired as a special education aide at Parkview Elementary School. Erin Blombly has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview Elementary School. Christy Fritz has been hired as a special education aide at Riverview Middle School. Emily Hapala has been hired as a special education aide at Parkview Elementary School. Brittany Johnson has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview Elementary School. Jacqueline Lillisand has been hired as a special education aide at Plymouth High School. Kaylee Lamibau has been hired as a special education aide at Riverview Middle School. Tamar Scott has been hired as a special education aide at Parkview Elementary School. And Paula Gatsky has been hired as an instructional aide at Parkview Elementary School. That was a big hiring flourish at the beginning of the school year, and just that this is the first meeting after the start where we get to introduce them all. No action is required.
No action there. All right. Item 11, discussion of participation in homecoming parade, and my name's on it. So we're participating in the homecoming parade, right? And the plan?
The boat, Buttercup.
All right, I'm not sure this is right, but, so I did take a moment with Photoshop. This is what I could do with Buttercup. I'm not sure I want Buttercup in the parade, but it would be easy. I need someone to pull it, though, Ann. What color? All right. So anyway, that is when? It's next Friday. Not this coming Friday, the Friday after. And who's volunteering to be there to walk? Thank you, Dan. Okay, good. Tony, if Buttercup's gonna be there. All right, what's that? It looks good. It's yellow, not orange. All right, so I guess we'll do it. I'll pull together the banner that'll go on it. If someone has other ideas, if someone had a really big banner with a panther paw, we could put up the mast and fly that off the mast, which would be way
Will it fit
cool.
underneath everything? As you
If,
pull it
if
through the
Marcus
mouth?
doesn't drive me into a couple of overhead stoplights, we're okay.
What about the big panther?
Oh, there you go. So, yeah,
Is there a crow's nest on the mast?
well, we could put you up there. I've got a bosun's chair I can pull you up there, so. Anyway, all right, so we'll plan to do it, and looks like good board participation. I'm guessing the leadership team as well will be there to
Parade starts at 4:30?
4:30, yeah. Right?
4:15, I thought, yeah, 4:15, I think.
4:50, oh,
Yeah.
I would have been late.
Start circling the wagons about 3:30-ish.
We're bringing bags of candy then?
Yeah, bring candy.
Okay, and can we start like after the wire by the? Yeah. Okay,
Just
good.
park it over there.
I'll just park it over there and put up the mast.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so we'll be around the corner from where the fire station is. All right, so that's that on the homecoming parade. Thank you for your volunteering. And if you have any other ideas to help decorate Dear Buttercup, let me know.
I'm just confirming, 4:15 is the
4:15 is
parade.
a parade,
So 4 o'clock,
4 o'clock
for sure arrive.
by the fire station. It'll be the only bright yellow boat that you see. Okay,
And it's first come, first served to get in the line.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
oh, we could be first in line?
You could.
All right, good. So there, we're settled on that. Let's move on to item 12, travel.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there is a an out-of-state travel request, and that is from our baseball squad. They would like the board to consider an out-of-state travel request for boys varsity baseball. The coach is Christian Balbrecht. He would take the boys' school baseball team to the Jackie Robinson Training Complex in Vero Beach, Florida. It's actually the old Dodger spring training grounds there. And this request is, it's on the 25th to the 29th, 2024. Students will not miss any days of school. This request is in line with board policies. Expenses will be the responsibility of students and/or their parents through fundraising, which already just began last weekend, or continued.
Okay, I was gonna ask why, how did that, okay.
Yep.
Good. So we need a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? All right, no items for consent agenda. President's report. Tonight, I just wanted to update the community on what the school board has been working on this summer. This has probably been a busier than usual summer for the school board because we have been in the search to find a replacement for Dan, who unfortunately is leaving us next spring. So what the board has spent the summer doing is determining what we need for leadership going forward as a district. Part of that focusing on where we want to go as a district. From there, we did create a profile. We posted that profile with job description. We received a number of responses. We evaluated the resumes. We took a look at the candidates. We brought candidates in for interview, went through the interview process with those candidates, and we are now down to 2 candidates. And tonight, I was going to announce the names of those 2 candidates. I received their permission, but it is Kevin Krutzik of Sheboygan Falls, and Scott Steyer, and he's of the Kewaskum School District. Our next step will be to have these 2 individuals come in next, October 4th? Thank you. October 4th, in which they will be interviewed by a group of administrators, of staff members, of school board members, and we'll break them up into 2 groups and have the candidates rotate between those 2 groups. To just get more insight and more evaluation, if you will, of the individuals. I want to remind everyone, though, the decision to hire a superintendent is the sole responsibility of the board itself. So even though we'll have all these other individuals as part of the interview process, it still falls on the board to make the final decision. So that's where we're at. It's been a good process, I believe, and it'd just be easier if Dan had changed his mind. So with that, I'm done with my report, and we'll move on to Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Students and staff back in school, and we don't have a ton of sports that have finished or big events that have happened. We've got the fall play is coming up, so that's something great to look forward to. But one thing that we kind of miss is we've got a great participation in all the different fair activities, FFA, 4-H. We by far, if you walk through the barns at 4-H or you go to the meat sales or any of that, by far we have the most kids from any school district. Well, probably it's our proximity, but our kids do wonderful things, and I know many students who have financed their entire college educations through doing those activities at the fair. And that's just one aspect. There's so many great things that go into those, raising those animals and showing those animals, and so much responsibility, and just plain old learning to do hard work and get up early in the morning and drive out to somebody who's keeping your cow or your steer and work all day long and take care of it. So what I wanted to do is just shout out to all the kids and the parents who really support them in all the fair activities and the animals and the plants and everything that goes into those wonderful experiences that the kids have when they're showing or they're actually bringing animals and other things to the fair. So just congratulations to all of them. Just a couple other things. Speaking about congratulations, I'm lucky. I've always been lucky to work with people that are excellent, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of those tonight because we've been talking about some things that are excellent. And so, example one, Dina. We mentioned before that Act 20 is kind of a slap in the face to districts all over the state, a wake-up call, I should say, maybe not a slap in the face. Like, okay, now some people need to completely change their mode of operation, completely retrain staff in something else, plan for all kinds of time to be spent, new materials to be purchased, but because we've always been really big into professional learning, and our staff has always been granted a considerable level of autonomy in that professional learning. The fact that they were the ones who really dove into this with Dina's leadership, they're not going to feel like, okay, we're being forced to do this by the state. And anytime there's a mandate where somebody forces an entire faculty or entire group of people to do something that they weren't expecting, there's that automatic pushback. But because our leadership and Dina's leadership and our faculty leadership, we've already got that going. Just got lucky that we kind of got in the right way, but I don't think it was really luck either. I think it was, you can see what's coming down the road. So Dina's example number one. So thank you, Dina. And then Amy. Amy mentioned earlier that we have ESSER funds remaining. Find me many other districts in the state that didn't spend all their ESSER funds to get through those freeze years, and there aren't many of them. We're one of the few, and we've talked about it and we planned about it together as a group through the entire freeze time that we were still going to be okay for 23-24 if the state didn't do anything. 24-25, well, I don't know, hopefully something better would have happened, but we've always done things conservatively, and we've always spent less than we needed to and done those kinds of things. And so, Amy did a wonderful job in guiding us to the point where, okay, great, now the state finally came through and gave us a little less, as you can see by the 2% that we're still off from 21-22, than we needed to actually overcome that freeze. But we're still okay because we've got ESSER. And we're going to be able to give our faculty, our staff, things that will help them feel appreciated for sticking with us. We can adjust our support staff salaries coming up here to make them competitive, because right now we kept on kind of holding that a little bit because we were trying to be conservative. Well, now we can at least get back to a level playing field, which should help. But it's through the work that Amy did and Nikki and everybody else that helps out. And Katrina does a lot of the punching into numbers when she's not trying to help me stay on track. So all of those people do a wonderful job, and I just wanted to appreciate them for what they do and the fact that we're in good shape. I mean, nobody's ever in perfect shape, but in some of those areas, we're in really good shape. And so, thank you very much, Amy.
Yeah, thank you both.
And that's my report.
Thanks, Dan. That's great. Now, item 16, we need to vote to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of public employees over which the school board has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Specifically, the school board will be interviewing candidates and discussing potential employment of a superintendent. The school board will not take any action concerning a final decision to hire, and to approve the minutes from August 15th, closed board of education meeting, and closed session minutes from August 16th, August 17th, and September 5th, or 6th, sorry.
Dan?
Roll call?
Tony? Yes. Bob?
Yes?
Sally, yes. Aaron?
Yes.
Kathy? Yes.
All right. Thank you all. We're moving.